Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome on back. It's Wednesday, March 26th, Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Borganoni, and I am joined by Matthew Betz and fresh off the vacation, Mike Wright.
Hello, everybody.
How you doing, Mike?
I wish I was on vacation.
I was going to ask, are you still on vacation mode?
Oh, dude, we went nowhere. I went nowhere. I did nothing for a week, an entire week. Good Lord, I don't know the last time I sat and, not that I did nothing, but it's like, just stayed home and took care of stuff at home, woke up when I wanted to wake up, and it's like a full week of that. It's been 10 plus years since I've had that happen.
The staycation is a nice thing as you get older.
Yeah.
Like my wife and I were talking about it this past weekend. My parents took the kids and we went out to dinner. We went to a concert. The next day we got to sleep in. It was like, oh, we can, our
Nice.
house, it's ours. What do we do now? So I know, Betz, you're still in the throngs of like your kids are super young, but staycation, man. Like, do you just like hand off your kids and just move on, Betz?
We've been trying. It hasn't worked. It's funny that you bring that up because there's been a couple days this week. Like the twins are in the terrible twos phase right now, where big reactions, big feelings, all that sort of stuff. And like, there's just moments where it's like my wife and I'll kind of look at each other and they'll just be like, we can tell from across the table we're both thinking like, remember when we could just wake up and like enjoy this cup of coffee before the chaos ensues. So we'll get there eventually. But yeah, the staycation does sound nice. I gotta be honest, I don't really think we've ever had one where we had no kids and just a staycation. So I look forward to those days, and I think that officially means getting old.
Jason likes a staycation. I know that he's done it a couple times over the years where it's just like nothing else on the schedule. But there's some little cheat codes. Like another cheat code we figured out a while back is that I want the babysitter to show up early and then leave at, like right after bedtime so that like we still get the evening too, as opposed to paying to have a babysitter so that my kids just sleep. So we just get a longer thing, guys.
I thought you were going to say, I like when they show up early and leave late, and then I pay them for the amount of time that they were scheduled for.
And
I
then
really like that.
And then I don't pay them at all. It's this loophole, this scheme I've had for years.
I'm on my 12th babysitter.
On this episode, we're going to be doing a prospect deep dive. We've done the prospect preview episodes where we talk about the production profile, what we saw in film, give some comps, and then kind of give our lay of the land of where we would take them in rookie drafts. But I think there are some changing opinions as we get to the end of March, as we are a month away from the NFL draft, that I think we want to share some of those. Maybe some players that we haven't talked about very much at all. I remember the wide receiver episode. We got through 7 or 8 names, and it felt like a disservice to not go fully into all these others, and we brought them up. But there's a couple names on this show that I'm really excited to talk about, and you can look at all those production profiles, our rookie rankings. Mike, I saw some adjustments from you in the rookie rankings, which you can find in the Ultimate Draft Kit. Go to udkplus.com. If you want to be a part of that, Betz, you are staying up to date on every single free agency signing, even the randos, the Michael Gallups.
Betz always tries to get away with it. He's like, guys, do we really need a blurb on Michael Gallup? And we're like, yes, we do, Betz, because we are the best. Stop trying to shortcut it.
I'm in it right now. I can tell you who I've added to team opportunity and everything in the last couple of days. Michael Gallup, Mecole Hardman, Devin Duvernay. Bears great, apparently. It's so funny.
He was a Bear.
Wait, I missed Duvernay.
Oh, yeah.
He went to Chicago?
Probably just going to kick return, but it's funny. There's like a time of the year where like I know the depth charts top to bottom, every single team, like even like the wide receiver 7. And right now, because of the Dynasty Pass, is that time of year.
Yeah, so you can get all of that, udkplus.com. Also, make sure you check out the app. Like the other day, I was doing the same thing. I was like, I don't know who's on this roster anymore. Like Raheem Mostert was added to the Raiders. And then I was like, who are the other running backs that they have on this team? And it's kind of signaling based on what we have in there in the contracts, like, okay, they're going to draft somebody.
I mean, Zamir, and who's the Who's that kid that came on at the end of the year?
Sincere McCormick.
Oh.
Sincere McCormick?
Not Dylan Laube?
No, Laube did. It was McCormick, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rough roster to look at, but you can get all of those updates if you want. We're going to spend most of this episode doing a deep dive.
Dig deeper, y'all. Let's go!
Pulled that one out of the archive.
Did you ever? Were you ever in the beach body? Did you get trapped in that universe ever?
No, I had
Like P90X, and then
I had a roommate that was P90X guy.
Okay, but so did they ever get into Shanti and do some insanity?
I've heard yes, I've heard of that.
Oh man, if you're ready for death, do insanity, and because oh my goodness gracious,
I feel like there's some workout stuff that if I did the research, what I'd end up doing is just asking Betz, is this good? Like, does this work? Does this matter?
Is this a good
I mean,
exercise? Also, I have raging back pain now. That'd be the conversation.
So we're going to talk about a couple of different categories here. Some players that we're rising on, a category that I'm calling the Lone Ranger, a player that maybe you're a little skeptical. Maybe you're in the corner and you're like, I don't get what everyone else is excited about. Some players we've changed some opinions on. And then the last one is players we are really excited for. And yet in the back of our mind, I think we're all a little scared of like, I don't know if the NFL is going to like them as much as I do. So that is the point of doing the deep dive on Dynasty players, getting the production profile of the film, and then when it comes down to a month from now, we're going to be like, oh no, they're in the 4th round. They're in the 5th round, even though I loved him. Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
Hakeem Butler. I loved him. One of my favorite prospects. And as I found out today, UFL Offensive Player of the Year. So was I right about him as a prospect?
no,
Dang it.
no,
Just early.
Kyle. That's not the NFL.
Dude, Trey Lance throwing to Hakeem Butler in like a year is it's going to be so good. We might just turn into a USFL podcast.
Yeah. I mean, these guys are great. I wanted to start us off because I've been really excited to talk about this player. It's Jalen Knoll, wide receiver of Iowa State. We almost brought him up at the end of the wide receiver episode. He was on the docket. We brought him up again when we talked about rookie mock drafts. But what's crazy is usually players weigh in at the combine and we're like, oh, this is underwhelming. They were listed this. He was actually listed taller than what he was at Iowa State. So he's listed at 5'10 now. He was 5'9 and 194. So as a slot wide receiver, he's not an itty bitty baby boy. Like, he's actually super strong. I saw one report that said he's the strongest pound for pound player on the team this past year at Iowa State, just in terms of adjusting for weight. And he ran a 4.39 at the combine. So have you guys seen him talked up in some circles over the last couple of weeks? Because I've seen it and I wanted to get into it, but have you seen his name?
I've seen it in our circle.
Was it
spearheaded by the Borgogan. Won't stop talking.
Kyle's like,
guys,
in the circle of the NFL, also my Twitter timeline. Have you guys seen this
You
guy
guys have
being
heard
hyped
other
up?
people talk about him, right?
Betz, I don't know if you were privy to this information, but Kyle DM'd me because it was too shameful for him to put into our public work channels, and that's why I will share it on the podcast. I get this DM out of nowhere yesterday. Jalen Knoll has surpassed Jack Besh for me.
Oh, Kyle, that is saying something.
Yeah, what is that all about?
Well, because I know the three of us were Besh boys. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but the thing about Knoll is his production's there.
It's better than Besh's, yeah.
So 1,193, 8 touchdowns, targets per out run was 26%. He killed it in zone, 3.51. The only wide receiver in this class that was better in zone was Trey Harris. And what's great when you look at the film is that this is a slot player, and yet he gets all these really cool shot plays from that where they run posts or they run wheel routes, and he's just tough after the catch. This isn't like I'm getting the ball, I'm falling down, I'm a slot wide receiver. Like, there's so much more here. He has punt return chops. People want to make, and I see this in a lot of places, they want to make the Amon-Ra comp of this is a slot wide receiver that is strong after the catch, that's tough as nails. I feel like that's a lot based on what we've seen in the last couple of years of just saying, like, this is the player that's going to do that. I think Randall Cobb and a souped up version of Christian Kirk are some of my favorite ones that I've seen from people. Kirk went 47th overall. But if Noel sees second round draft capital, I think he would be one of those players that's in the mix in the early second round of your rookie drafts. And I was just in a super flex draft with the Foot Clan. We were doing a rookie draft, and I got him at the 207, and I felt like I could have waited even further because people aren't fully onto him. So in this group of wide receivers this year, once we get past the 3 or 4 names that everybody knows, we'll probably have 3, maybe 4 wide receivers in the first round. I think there's going to be a lot of guys in round 2 that I'm going to be excited for. So I don't know. Do you guys see him kind of being in that early second round of Dynasty rookie drafts?
I think he certainly could be, especially if he surprises us with draft capital, because I agree with you. Like right now, in terms of NFL draft capital, it kind of feels like he's probably more of a round 3-ish type guy. But like if somebody prefers his skill set over his teammate, Jaden Higgins or somebody like that, and wants to snag him in round 2, I would not be absolutely shocked by that. So I do think he could be a guy that kind of is a late riser in the process that all of a sudden becomes a solidified second round rookie pick, where the risk of those rookie picks is so low. Like if you like him, don't be afraid to take your shot. I will say he has had a constant kind of drumbeat going back to the Senior Bowl, and I know that we've had a discussion on here about the Senior Bowl where like it's the only thing happening at the time, so of course guys are center stage, but when it happens through that and then also continuously through the combine and then after the combine, you're starting to see his NFL draft stock rise. Those are the guys that I want to pay attention to versus sometimes the guys going the other way. And like Kyle said, some of the peripheral numbers here are pretty strong on Noel. So yeah, I think both Iowa State guys are risers in this process. But yeah, I think Noel is definitely a guy to pencil in as a potential round 2 target in rookie drafts.
And for our comparison, talking about Besh versus Noel, because these are just a little bit later type of rookie selections that we'll be making. Like Noel's production, it's great. I mean, he doesn't have. We love when a player is 19 years old and they come into a team as I'm a true freshman and I take over, and you're like, that's going to be a dude right there. But those are the elite of the elite. That is not the common story for these wide receivers. But just box score hunting him, it tells a really great story of his 4 years at Iowa State, improving like literally every single category that matters. He improved. He improved in reception every single year. 39, 61, 66, 81. His yards went up every single year. His yards per catch went up every year. His touchdown receptions, it all went up every year. So this isn't, like where we had the Xavier Legette last year. Like it's really just 1 year of production for Legette. And Besh is the same way, where we are defaulting to our hopes and our dreams for him with his freshman year of, he caught 43 passes at LSU with those other guys, these other true NFL players on his team. And we're like, we could tell ourselves that story, but then it didn't turn into anything. He had to change schools so that he could go find himself a role, and really has just the 1 year of production. And we're going to talk roses for Besh in a moment, but just comparing those two, the path of Noel is something that we prefer when we're looking at the production going up, crushing the combine. I mean, it's not just a fast speed. It's like all of his drills are, this is a true top tier athlete. So he'll be very interesting. And when it comes to NFL draft capital, he doesn't feel like a high round pick to me, but so this will be confusing because it's the market, right? Like look at these free agents who are signing $10 million deals at the wide receiver position, and you're like, why are we spending this cash on this tertiary wide receiver? And then there's good running backs like, well, we'll give him $3 million guaranteed. Like everything in the free agent frenzy of this year, everything flipped totally back to, we're not paying running backs nothing, and we're going to give wide receivers just their market. They get paid so much money, so that will be interesting to see. Does he just get boosted? Like this wide receiver classes, they're not bad. That's kind of been, we're disappointed because there's not a lot of top end, and even the number one guy of McMillan, who the projected number one guy when we're not factoring in Travis Hunter, he doesn't feel like a surefire hit, the way that Malik and Marv felt last year. Was, I don't care where they go. I hope it's a great spot, but I don't care where they go. I'm still taking them at the 101 or the 102. So he will be talking with Noel, he will be a fascinating player to track.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of guys in that area right now in mock drafts, and we've talked about this on the show. It's like, this is a data point for us to consider right now. Of he's 73rd on big boards like consensus, if you want to take them all together. Besh is at 69. Trey Harris is 57. Jaden Higgins is right there. 55! There's a bunch of dudes that I think are in the mix for late round 2, early round 3, and the landing spot kind of matters. Let's just go right into Besh, because all three of us have been really excited for him as we did the deep dive on all of these players that everyone's supposed to like. Here's a guy that was a Senior Bowl standout, and from watching the film, we put together like a little clip of like, here's all the things that he's done. He crushed against zone. He needs to be in the right spot, but I feel like he's one of those players that I've been reaching on in rookie drafts, like a little bit ahead of whatever consensus or whatever's out there in your platform. Betz, do you feel the same way about Besh?
I mean, I'm definitely interested in him. I think the conversation on a lot of these guys that are like fringe day 2 picks are, like you said, like the fit of their skill set in the offense kind of matters a lot to me, where all of these guys have issues in their overall profile. Like the production is not ideal for Jack Besh. Like it's not great, right? There's the 1 year kind of thing. With Noel, not really an early declare. That's something to consider. But I do think he is another guy that could be a value, because I think the running backs in this class, for good reason, are going to get pushed up a lot. So I think you'll see a ton of running backs in rookie drafts in early second, mid-second round. And then there's going to be a couple wide receivers who could be kind of diamonds in the rough at like the back of the second, maybe even early third of your rookie draft. And obviously the hit rate on those picks is very low. They go there for a reason. But I think Besh is right in that conversation of a guy that could surprise people as far as where he goes in the NFL draft, and therefore be a value in rookie drafts. So yeah, like you guys, I'm definitely in on him. And like Mike said too, it's hard to quit understanding like a guy walked on the field as a true freshman and led the team at LSU in receptions with the names that were on that roster. It's just, I'm such a sucker for that kind of stuff that it sticks with me.
Yeah, it's like, then what happened?
But what happened
next year?
Yeah, what's the issue going forward? That's the question.
He went from 43 catches as a rookie or as a freshman at LSU, and then he only played 9 games as a sophomore, but he had 16 receptions.
That ain't great.
No, that is a something happened.
He's not twitchy either. So it's like you watch the film and you're not going to go like, oh, wow, he's just blowing people away. He's just open all the time. And he's also like after the catch, he's a man. So he's fun to watch the film. And I think all of us are saying, I'm holding with an open hand this player of, if he goes the right situation, like, the comparisons are made often. It's like, this is like a Puka player. This is a Cooper Kupp. Like he would work really well. Well, that offense already has those players. I can't really see him go there. And I don't really know how you can recreate that on other offenses. So he's definitely somebody that we've all, since the initial wide receiver prospect episode, we've risen on. Betz, you have a name on here that I wanted to talk about for a while, and I'm glad you're bringing him up.
Yeah, deep running back class. So there's a bunch of names I could have gone with as kind of a sneaky running back target, but I really like DJ Giddens from Kansas State. When you look at just a bunch of different data points, he kind of checks a lot of the boxes we look for. At the combine, weighed in at 6 feet tall, 212 pounds, so he's got the size you're looking for as far as that goes. And then he tested extremely well at the combine, a 4.43 at that size, earned him a 9.75 out of 10 on the RAS scale. So the athletic testing profile is good, the size is good, the production profile is good, and specifically I wanted to highlight his ability as a pass catcher. So over his final 2 seasons at Kansas State, he totaled almost 50 catches and almost 600 yards. Now, those aren't going to like blow you away, but in the college game, those are very solid. His best season reception share in our database, we have at 11%. That's a very strong mark for a college running back. It's higher than guys like Genty, Travion Henderson, Judkins, Dylan Sampson, some of the names that are, all, of course, and should be ahead of him on rankings list. But when you look at some of his peripheral metrics, I mean, 4.16 yards after contact per attempt, 7th best mark in this class. He was 3rd in this class in breakaway rush rate. So I think there's some juice there. And anytime a guy is able to deliver some of those big plays and add pass catching work, I'm definitely interested, especially if they have the size that Giddens does. So yeah, I don't think he's going to be a day 2 NFL draft pick. So of course that comes with a ton of risk based off of consensus boards. But he kind of profiles as like a rookie that will work his way into some sort of rotation, hopefully. And then from there, maybe he can become more than that. I would not be shocked if it doesn't work out, but just as a sleeper in this class, a guy that I've come around on a lot based off the peripherals is DJ Giddens.
You're checking a ton of the box, like you mentioned, like the size, speed, early breakout, all of those things. Like, I want that. You can catch the ball. Right now, he's 98th on consensus board, so kind of on that fringe of being a day 2, day 3 pick. If he sneaks into day 2 as a 3rd round guy, I would be interested. I think scheme fit, which is one of the things that I'm doing right now, is trying to figure out like which players worked in a certain system in college and what would translate to an NFL system. For instance, Dylan Sampson, when we did his scouting, we're like, man, Tennessee has these wide lanes where they're running a ton of man and gap. They're not asking him to do the same inside zone stuff. I need to find a team that does that. Giddens is also one of those guys that I think has the size. If he gets a team that is more man and gap, like the Chargers, I think he would fit in well. I also thought the Bengals would be a team where if they bring him in as a compliment, he's a bigger back than Chase Brown. It sucks for fantasy, but I think it fits for the NFL. That's what sucks about the game we play, is like Chase Brown was so good at the end of the year. He's sitting on a dynasty squad of mine. And I'm like, this is not going to work out, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you better be having some seances, lighting all sorts of incense and wishing, because he, I feel like in the draft, he is so vulnerable to someone coming in and stealing his lunch money. But if we get through, like if we get to day 3 and a running back has not been added to that squad, then you're going to be popping that champagne.
I think there's actually a pretty good chance, not that this is a Chase Brown show, but I think there's actually a pretty good chance they don't take one of these top 5-ish running backs in the class. I mean, we could be wrong, but when you think about like the defensive side of the ball has a lot of issues, a lot of folks around the league are kind of suggesting like this could be an all defense type of draft for the Bengals because they need to fix that side of the ball so much. So I do think he's getting competition in the backfield, but like you said, the difference between a 6th round pick to throw in there versus one of these guys in round 2 or round 3 is a very different conversation. So yes, on what's the second day, the Friday of the NFL draft, if you have Chase Brown, just be ready to sweat.
Does he feel like the most fragile running back right now to head into the draft? Like, I was trying to like think of Chase Brown as like what I have right now. Like, I was looking at his opportunities from week 9 on. Only Saquon averaged more opportunities per game. They were going to kill him like 24 a game. I don't think they want to do that again. And Samaje is just kind of there as like a mascot for the team. So I don't really know. At this point, that's what he is.
Oh, man.
I mean, quickly browsing my startup ranks, it's like, yeah, it's like Jacobs, does Green Bay go back in on it after the super disappointment of Marshawn Lloyd? Or do they just say he was hurt all year, that we're still fine? We like him as a prospect to be our RB2. I mean, of the young stalwarts, the Joe Mixon would be the other one where like I think in the draft you're going to super sweat, and then the low key one for me is Etienne.
Oh, really? That they add just a bigger back.
Correct. They need a secondary option for it, and it seems like Jalen Wright is not that guy.
Yeah, I think a couple other names that I'd be sweating too for running backs. I mean, we talked about this a lot. Tyron Tracy already is a guy that I'm definitely nervous about.
That's a obvious sweat. You should be doused already if you got Tracy.
I also think Washington is a sneaky candidate to add a running back. So Brian Robinson Jr., Eckler's on the final year of his 2-year deal.
Yeah, but who's sweating Brian Robinson?
That's true.
Come on, guys.
But if you got him as like
Come
your
on.
RB3, you're like,
We
fine.
have- I mean,
you know, Pacheco and
people-
the Chiefs.
Just remember the good times.
That's right.
For Robinson.
That's right.
Brian Robinson has been annoyingly like good, and not great, but good for fantasy. Like
He's been fine.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. He has been annoyingly good for fantasy football.
That's it.
While not feeling like he is an upper echelon running back. Like, and this is all to his credit and it's look, I admit it, it's full sour grapes. I still hold on to Antonio Gibson getting replaced after 2 years of domination for Brian Robinson. And then it just comes in and he lumbers but the dude he gets it done. I guess.
Hey, you could talk
It's
about
lucky.
Antonio
It's
Gibson
lucky crap.
forever. You can. You should not victory lap, but more of say you were right, Mike. And you were when no one else cared. No one else really cared about him.
For Gibson?
Yeah, 2 top 12 seasons is like
Hey,
more than
that
enough.
was me and TJ Hernandez, man. It was just us, Thelma and Louising driving into the canyon.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. We're back and we're going to talk about players that I'm calling, if you're a lone ranger, you're all by yourself, you're at the party, sees everybody else kind of like the meme that they just don't get it. They don't understand, but I do. And the player I want to bring up is RJ Harvey, running back from UCF. His journey, we talked about on the running back prospect episode, but remember, he was recruited as a quarterback to Virginia. He transfers, then COVID happens, then he has an ACL injury, and then he has some wild production in his final couple years at UCF. So I remember like scouting him and thinking like, I get why he works in college and I get where he could work in the NFL because you see these chunk gains over and over again. He doesn't really break tackles. Like he's not going to physically like pummel somebody, but he's elusive. He did have the highest yards before contact in the class. So you can count that for offensive line or scheme or whatever, but the highest in the class before he got hit. He's just old, and I definitely have something against old running backs.
Yes, you do.
I've always had something. It just doesn't usually work out. 24 years old. He's right now 152nd on big boards, consensus big boards. So you're looking at somebody who's probably going to be 4th round, maybe 5th. And just so all of that is something that I don't understand of. You need to kind of thread the needle with a player like this. Like he's this rare blend of he's old, he's small, but he's super fast. He ran a 4.4 and he had a bunch of touchdown production late in his career.
And his receiving profile is good.
Yeah. I think it's 11% was his mark.
It was his reception percentage as a true player on the team. He was at 9%, 8, and then 11 for this new one, or for the most recent.
I think he can work, and he can work on like inside zone schemes, but you start to think of the teams that are really good at like the Eagles. It's like, okay, well, do they think he's going to be a backup and that's not going to be a good landing spot? If he went to Dallas, I would be interested, but he'd have to probably be a 4th or 5th round pick. Pittsburgh's another place where he could complement Jaylen Warren, another player, by the way, you're probably clenching your butt cheeks over trying to figure out who they're going to add. And then Washington. So those are some spots that I'm interested if it's RJ Harvey, but I think it has to be so specific this player's fit in the NFL for being old and smaller, and I just have a hard time being excited against all the other running back prospects. We have 10, 12 that I'm kind of excited to see where they land, and so I'm not boosting him above anyone else. I think he's more of like a 3rd round rookie pick, but I think based on name and production, he's ending up in like mid-seconds. So, he's classified as a graduate student.
Yeah. So when Kyle logs into the profiles on the
exactly.
website and he sees graduate student, that means ARP.
Kyle sorts, actually, most people sort by, the production, the breakout age. Kyle literally sorts by what you are as far as, freshman, sophomore, whatever. And as soon as he sees graduate student or senior, he is OUT on that guy. Man, Kyle. But I'm with you to some degree.
It's a different college, man. NIL has changed everything.
So different. You're right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like about Harvey, right? But the question that I always get with guys like this is, does the fantasy community as a whole like them a lot more than the NFL will? And he kind of feels like that guy to me at the running back position, where I think he'll have a role in the league for sure. Will it be fantasy friendly is the real question. Because like you said, 5'8", 205, not really built to be a true bell cow. I mean, not that he couldn't be, but just historically, like going back kind of through his journey, remember, he was recruited as a quarterback, tore his ACL, took a while to kind of get here. It doesn't really feel like the NFL views him as like, we could take this guy and plug him in as a 300 touch per season type of guy. Like the NFL just doesn't seem to think about him like that. So then you're asking yourself, like, can he be a flex play on 10 or 12 touches a game, maybe? Like that's kind of what I'm envisioning for him. So yes, I think he's an interesting target in rookie drafts, but certainly a guy that I'm not going to be afraid to pass on if somebody else in my league is like, I got to get RJ Harvey, in the early second round or something like that. It definitely feels like a guy that could get steamed up a little bit too much.
Yeah, I ran some numbers of players that were older, his height, and then I put in the draft position of like, okay, this is probably a day 3 guy. And then kind of like gave him the rushing production that he did, which was really, really good in college. And the number 1 comp I got was Kenneth Dixon, who...
Oh man,
That's
what could have been? Dude, I loved
yes,
Ken Dixon.
And that proves the point of what Betz was saying. Is like us in the fantasy space, we were like, I like this player.
Happened?
I could
What
see
happened
where
to
he
Ken Dixon?
works. And yet for the NFL, I mean, there's injuries and everything else you have to account for with players, but it's just so hard. You have to thread a needle. So
Didn't Dixon,
he had a
He got
couple
hurt.
He didn't play his
he had a couple
sophomore
of
year.
knee
He got hurt,
injuries.
right?
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, meniscus maybe
It
or
would've
something,
worked.
but
yeah, it would have
It was
worked.
going to work.
definitely
I'm
would have
glad-
worked.
Him and Devontae Booker.
Oh, the book mode?
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
Betz,
man.
you're up next. A player that
No, I'm all for this discussion here, Betz, because I feel like I'm boosting this player up because of projected draft capital.
Yeah.
Because draft capital is super important, but it's just in my head, it's not jiving.
For sure. Yeah, the guy we're talking about is Matthew Golden out of Texas, who around the NFL, people are in love with him, right? Like he's like a top 15-ish prospect on some boards. Now you're seeing him mocked. Allegedly. He's mocked to like the Cowboys kind of a lot now. Like it's kind of in vogue to be in on Golden over T-Mac. And maybe the NFL really does think that. But we see this every single NFL draft cycle. There's like a few things you can always count on when we get to closer to the NFL draft. One is like a sneaky 3rd or 4th quarterback entering the conversation. There's always like, this team has this running back closer to RB1 than you realize conversation, or the wide receiver, or like character concerns that guys are falling for, or the NFL draft overvaluing the 40-yard dash. Every single offseason it happens. And to Matthew Golden's credit,
if Al Davis were still with us,
he'd be a Raider.
he would be the 6th overall pick.
And to his credit, I mean, he crushed the combine. 4.29, nobody expected it. And you're seeing a meteoric rise because of that. And when you look at kind of like all the positives for Golden, a lot of people talk about the combine first and the tape. And I just always struggle with these guys where it's like, well, yeah, like he didn't really produce, but when you turn on the tape, and to me, it's like, if the tape is that good, why didn't he actually do anything? So, so to me, Matthew Golden is a potential fade for me in rookie drafts, where I could see him being picked 12th to like 16th-ish, somewhere in that range, and people are like, oh, baby, like wide receiver 1, here we go. And all of a sudden, he's like the 105 in rookie drafts. And when we did our mock, I took him at the 112, I think, kind of like begrudgingly. I was like, this seems fine. But just like to put some numbers to it, right? 2.10 yards per out run this year, was 43rd in this year's class among wide receivers that saw 75 targets. So comparing him to his peers, he's really not in the conversation. Kyle put together this list of first-round wide receivers with less than 2.6 yards per out run in their final season, and he's only above Jalen Reagor. There are some interesting hits on this list potentially with like Zay Flowers, Chris Olave, but otherwise, I mean, it's Kevin White, Jahan Dotson, Rashad Perryman.
It's a bad list.
It's a bad list. So the production is not there. The draft capital will be, and I don't know how to put the two together. So if somebody else in my rookie drafts is in on Matthew Golden and wants to take him early, I will probably be passing on that.
We were joking back and forth of like, you can really create any inverse of an argument of, well, why is if the tape's so good, like, who cares about the numbers? Or you go the opposite way of like, well, if the number's so good, why is his tape so bad? And you just kind of go back and forth. But like, if you're focusing in on the last month of Matthew Golden, he looks like he should be a superstar. But over the course of a career, those are the things that we all kind of take into account. And then I don't know if I do this, but like with what I know about combine and what translates now I'm at the point where I kind of like hold it against him, and I'm like, he did good, so that's even worse now. it's like, and that's kind of the human nature. But
I mean, legitimately,
Kyle nature.
If that's definitely a Kyle-ism right there.
Sure.
If you would have run, let's say 4.39, which is still very
even
fast, I feel like people wouldn't be doing what they're doing right now. So it's tough, man. I want to give credit to Marcus Mosher too, who put this out on Twitter. There have been 28 wide receivers drafted in the first round since 2020. Nobody has averaged fewer yards per game in their best season than Matthew Golden. So the odds are against him that this will work for fantasy, but I'm not a pro NFL scout, and scouts seem to love him. So we'll see. It's tough on him for me right now.
He's tough in rookie rankings. Like I look at what we have, Andy, Mike, and Jason, and then I look in mock drafts. Like when I'm in one, I'm like, people are kind of, in fantasy circles, they understand that conversation at least, of like, the NFL loves him, he ran fast, his production profile, what should I do? I'll just let somebody else take him. And so he's kind of dropping to this late first, early second round territory where there is a certain point where you would take him, right? I think all of us would say like, okay, he's a first round wide receiver.
Yes.
So what is that point where you guys are like, oh, this, like, I can't let him pass this point in a draft?
112, like Betz said for the mock, like that's, for sure. I'll take him there, because once you're at the 112, that means that the big 5 or big 6, whatever your running back board is, like, that's depleted, and the T-Max off the board. It's like, if the tight ends could be off the board, when we get into the rookie drafts, real live rookie drafts, we might be looking at that Travis Hunter v. Golden decision, and that is, I do not envy anyone who has that fault. Like, that's the way the board falls to you. Whew, good luck.
Like, both of those picks could be glory picks of like, everybody else doubted Golden, I'm taking him here, or everyone was too scared to take Hunter, I'm going to take him here. That's kind of fun from just a selfish point of view. When I'm drafting,
shoot your shot.
I want to dunk on people with my rookie picks.
Yeah, shoot your shot.
Okay. Mike, give us a player that you don't understand. You weren't on that episode, I believe.
No,
the tight
I was
end
not
episode.
on the tight end show. But Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU. Like, I've been seeing on Twitter, people are getting more and more excited in Mason Taylor. And I mean, where is he on the mock draft database right now?
I don't know the exact
he's quite high,
mark,
right?
but he's like
he's
a
in the
consensus second round pick right now in big boards.
He's 56.
Career 5.4 yards after catch per reception. His yards per route run is barely over 1. Career, 10.1 yards per reception. That's the lowest rate for any tight end in this class. And I just, so the way I scout tight end film, honestly, I mean, I'm looking for speed. I'm looking for, some special athleticism, but it's pretty rare to find that. And then sometimes you get lured into a Kyle Pitts type of a trap. So, I mean, I look for those things. But then, honestly, the second thing I start looking for is, which is hard to quantify, but it's like, I want heart. I want domination. I want dog. Like, I want a guy who, like, yes, it hasn't worked out for Ben Sinnott just yet.
Keyword,
still crossing those fingers.
Yet.
But point being,
this is the example.
Well, here's why it's the example. Here's why it's the example, Kyle. Because I felt like I was on this complete island. I'm like, guys, This dude is an absolute dog. This guy's the man. He's initiating contact. He doesn't get pulled back by one player. He goes through people. This is a football player, and I feel like I'm on an island on this ranking. And then he's the second tight end in the NFL draft. So yeah, the career hasn't worked out because Zach Ertz resurrected his career and came back to life. But the NFL was in it. Washington was in on it when they spent a second-round pick on it, and I just don't see. I don't get it. I don't get it for Taylor. I'm not saying he's an absolute disaster of a player. I'm just saying I don't see what other people are seeing to steam up his projected draft capital.
I think it's a worthy conversation of saying, what does the NFL think about him as a tight end, which is more than a fantasy conversation, because we understand that for a lot of tight ends, like their role in the NFL is not to catch 70 passes or whatever. It's like
right.
Your job is to block. Your job is to be a red zone dominator, to kind of be versatile, to do all these other things that don't really affect the game. Like he was asked to pass block a ton. And the crazy part is LSU, they threw the ball a ton, 42 times a game. And yet you look at his production, you go, it's not explosive. It's not the stuff we really care about. So let's say he does go in the second round of the NFL draft. Does that change any much for you, Mike?
I mean, I'll be willing to take the shot in like the third.
Right.
I mean, because draft capital does matter so much, but Luke Schoonmaker was a second-round draft pick by the Dallas Cowboys. The aforementioned Big Ben Sinnott, the senator, second-round pick. So finding tight ends for fantasy is extremely difficult. But step one, I need that dog. I need his heart just to be a full pit bull.
He hasn't turned 21 yet. So you think that's part of it? Like he just hasn't stepped.
Maybe. We got to get in that. Got to get from boy dog to man. He's just a puppy right now. He can grow into it.
He's 6'5", 251. So he's like the
Good
puppy
Lord.
that is too big, and yet he's like 2 years old.
Can you imagine being that big?
No.
Like, what's life like to be 6'5" and 250 pounds?
Must be nice.
Just regular life. How do you go to the movies?
I just push everybody over.
Zero leg room.
Me.
Yeah, zero leg room, and everyone's like down in front. Like, I'm just sitting.
I am sitting.
I'm just living.
I'm just living.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with some more players. We're going to bring up some players here that maybe we've changed our opinions a little bit since the beginning of the scouting process. So there are some running backs that I kind of all lumped together that I was like, I don't really know if I like this one more than the other, and I don't really know what to do with them. So when we were doing the scouting process, really a month and a half, 2 months ago, I feel like it was hard to get a gauge of like, do I even like this player's skill set? Does it translate to the NFL? And so Devin Neal out of Kansas, one of those guys that I was like, he's fine. Like nothing jumped out. And I remember going back through my notes, it was like, what is he great at? And I wanted to like grab onto something in his game to say like, he's awesome at this. And it's like, he has this all around game. At the combine, he ran a 4.58, which isn't very good compared to other guys.
It's fine.
It's fine, but it doesn't like jump off the page where we look at, you mentioned DJ Giddens or some of these other guys that's like, man, they looked awesome at the combine. They're the hotness right now. I like them a lot more. But I went back and I watched Neal's film again, and I think that if he's in the right scheme, he's not going to be an outside zone guy. Like he would not work in Miami. He's just not fast enough to work on things like that. But I do think there are some certain schemes with his skill set. He does have the receiving production that I think can work. And I went back to last year to look at what did we miss about Bucky Irving, because I think all three of us liked him in the process. The NFL Combine crushed him in our minds.
It would not just the combine. The for me with Bucky, the combine solidified what I saw on tape. Which when I was watching Bucky, and I know there's gonna be people who disagree, I wasn't seeing a true explosive, real fast player. Then he goes and he tests, and you go, oh, okay, that looks about what I saw. And then he just turns into an absolute monster of he's like this guy. No one can take him down. He's so fast. He's so shifty. That one was strange.
So
to me,
you can actually go on the NFL's website and look at the combine of Bucky Irving, and I compared it to Devin Neal because their splits, like their 10-yard splits, their fastest time in the 40, like you can compare all those things, but like Bucky's vertical was so bad, 29.5 compared to.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's not the vert of an explosive guy.
Right, his broad jump. But what I think both of these two did really well in college is that between the tackles, I think they were really good. Like I liked Bucky's film as a between the tackles runner, despite him not being a very big dude. Neal is much bigger than him, so you can't really compare stylistically.
Somehow,
yes, I think like
the smallest big player I've ever seen.
My comp I gave was Tony Pollard, who went in the 4th round, who only ran a 4.52, by the way. But Tony Pollard with those Cowboys earlier, it's like, man, this dude is explosive. Like he's way more explosive than Zeke, and it just kind of showed up on the between the tackles type of stuff. So I think I'm more open to Devin Neal being and like in year 1, he's not going to be a 3-down workhorse, but I think he could work his way into that the same way like Chuba Hubbard or Tony Pollard. Right away, they weren't like crazy difference makers, but they worked their way into being valuable people for fantasy. So I'm just keeping the light on. Before I was like, I don't really care about this guy, but I'm kind of warming up to him.
As soon as the market starts to go against the player, Kyle buys the dip. He's back.
Got to.
The second he ran the 40, people were like, I don't know about Devin Neal. Kyle's like, actually, I'm coming around on you.
This is what I like to see.
This is what I like. And I will say there is something to that, right? Where it's like some of these guys are just better at that specific skill of the 40-yard dash. It does not mean they are a better or worse football player. And what I look for at running back specifically, of course, I want guys to be as fast as they can. But are you fast enough, right? Like fast enough. Check the box and kind of move on. It's fine. It's not going to blow you away, but it's fine to be a productive football player, which is what Devin Neal has been in his career, and I think could be at the NFL level. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you in that. Like right now, it feels like he's fallen a tier or two down, but like I don't know that it should matter that much. Is kind of what I'm getting to.
I've been doing some soul searching about just explosive rushes, and I think I brought this up to both of you guys. But it's like I want the big play, but I want the player that consistently gets 5-yard chunk gains more. It actually translates better to fantasy success.
You want Quinshon Judkins?
5-yard run. Bring him up, man, because
I was going to say you want Rico Dowdle.
Rico, man. What a season it was for
what
him.
I like the production profile for Devin Neal it's quite strong. He's a 4-year player, and the numbers were like, from sophomore to junior, it's good production. Over 1,000, almost 1,100 rushing yards, almost 1,300 rushing yards. And then receiving profile is fantastic for his final 3 years. And then in terms of like the market share of the production, it really stands out his final year, where the raw numbers are pretty close, but it's like, dude, the offense was Devin Neal, and I think that he runs smart. I when we first brought him up, I said there's a couple plays in there where you go, whoa, you're doing the Lev Bell, where you're kind of chilling and waiting for you're waiting for the defense to show their hand, and then you're going to go forward, and then he slithers around like a snake. So I like Devin Neal. I think that he could work to be an RB2-ish type for fantasy football.
Yeah, and if you got that in like the second round of your rookie draft, I mean,
delightful.
That's a slam dunk. The next guy I want to bring up is Quinshon Judkins, as I kind of already mentioned. And I bring him up because when we did the first running back scouting episode, one of my takes on Judkins was like, he seems fine. Like, I'm not like in love with him. I don't hate him. Always picks up 5 or 6 yards. But like, as Kyle said, sometimes we look for these like super fun, explosive plays that we want every running back to have. Trayvon Henderson, who he will do that, Kyle, in the right scheme.
He is the demon.
But sometimes NFL teams value the running back that can carry the ball 22 times in a game and pick up 5 yards, 6 yards on a consistent basis and score a bunch of touchdowns. And that's what Judkins did. So initially my film take was like, it's fine. But then he goes to the combine and runs way faster than I thought he was going to at his size. So looking at a speed score perspective, he definitely checks that box. It seems like the NFL again, overvaluing 40. They're on board now, whereas like before I was like, maybe he's going to be a third-round pick. Now it seems like he's a consensus second-round pick, so you'll get strong draft capital. So I've come around to Judkins being kind of closer to the RB3-4 range, whereas like before, I actually preferred Caleb Johnson over him. I've come around the other way now where I think Judkins is a very strong rookie pick, even though he's not the flashiest player. I just think he's going to get a ton of touches, get a goal line role, and really when it comes down to it for fantasy, that's what we care about, as long as you're good enough, and I think Judkins is good enough. 3-year player, played at big-time schools, ton of production. So I've come around on Quinshon Judkins.
I think psychologically it's tough when you have two running backs from the same school because it elevates the things that player does really well and then kind of minimizes other things so it's just really easy to see these two as extremes. Which one do you like? And then, subconsciously holding it against Judkins because he's not going to give you the 60-yard run the way
watching Henderson and then like 2 plays later, Judkins getting the ball, that's where I was like, because he doesn't have that like pop to his game where Henderson is just like, home run waiting to happen. But that's what I was saying, where like the NFL sometimes just cares more about the guy that, for lack of a better football term, is going to keep you ahead of the chains. Like, it's funny, but NFL coaches actually care about that. Where like he just has the size to do that, basically.
Do we have, Kyle, off the top of your head, what I'm thinking of is Sony Michel and Nick Chubb. Do we have anything newer?
Like more recent running back?
Yeah, or two kids out of the same school. I just can't think of anything else.
I thought of when Ronnie Brown went 2nd overall, Cadillac Williams went 5th overall.
My scenario was way better.
I'll go back through and try to figure out, because there's been some Georgia running backs and Alabama running backs that there was like multiple, but I think he just profiles super well for the game we play. The red zone role, I think he's going to see some receptions. Like, David Montgomery's had some ebb and flows where it's like, oh, you can get 30 receptions in a season or whatever. Like, I think that's still on the table for Judkins. And yeah, Betz has in here his draft stock, which is slowly gone down. And now it's been rising over the last month. And I think it's a good name to bring up. Like, I would, based on draft capital and situation fit, like, could you see yourself taking him, ahead of Henderson or ahead of Caleb Johnson?
No, I'm not. I'm take locked, bro.
Okay. Betz?
I could. The one thing in his overall profile that, like you kind of alluded to, is not great is the pass catching production. It's not like it's a 0, but it's not fantastic. And sometimes I have concerns about those guys. But depending on landing spot and draft capital, I certainly could see myself taking him over Caleb Johnson. It would be tough for me on Henderson, but I'd be willing to be persuaded if the right situation presents itself.
All right. Mike, who's a player that you've been changing your opinion on?
So this is, I don't know if we have a full opinion change. This is more of we have to bring this up.
Yes.
Because like a lot of guys the combine is, kind of losing some value. Players are choosing to just participate in the medicals and the interviews, and then they're saying, I'm going to go do my athletic testing where my team is in control of everything. And which I say to that, that's fine. You better dominate. And Xavier Restrepo did not, at least when it comes to
he's still running
40. On his pro day 40, unofficially clocked at 4.76 and 4.83, and I think the kind of accepted standard of laser timing, which the combine has, versus hand timing at these pro days, is just add 0.05 to what somebody ran. So you're talking, that's almost a 4.9. Look, that's so much faster than I can run.
You sure about that?
That is not, and that's not NFL speed. That's just that it's really disappointing for him to come out and run that 5'10", 209 pounds. He has great production the last 2 years. He played ball with the presumed number 1 overall pick, but that's a time that will move you down draft boards where teams are not going to prioritize, we got to go get this player. Oh my goodness. Kyle, what? Mike, this was just shared by Kyle. Mike Glennon His 40-yard dash time at the NFL Combine was 4.94.
And that's a combine time, so you know it's good.
So that is not that different. And that's including that Mike Glennon crossed the line at the 30 because of the size of his neck. So that, oh my gosh, that's combine is not everything. We try to preach that over and over of we don't double count it because the NFL draft counts the combine. But that's a number that can push you into day 3. You thought you were a day 2 pick, and NFL teams come out and they see that, they go, it's just not fast enough.
Glennon 6'7", just at the 30, just kind of falls over.
That just made my day. I mean, Mike Glennon and Restrepo the same speed.
They show the Rich Eisen ones where they kind of like time him up. They show the
Kyle, immediately after the show, please.
That's what I'm doing.
Please put those two on a simulcast.
There's got to be some clips. So the thing about Restrepo is I've known about the player for a while, watching college football as like, this is the slot wide receiver. And then he has an awesome season with Cam Ward. But I feel like the conversation right now is he is one of the dudes, and then this 40 time didn't help him at all. Where going into it, if you're like, hey, if you need a slot wide receiver, is a PPR guy, I feel like Restrepo is getting some like late first, early second round buzz. And now it's like this. There's just so many other dudes I'd rather take. I mentioned Noel earlier, Utah State's Jalen Royals. There's just other slot wide receivers that fit that archetype that I think Restrepo is going to slide a little bit. So if he's like a late 2, day 3 pick, I feel like in rookie drafts, you're just in like no man's land in round 3. Like round 3 of a rookie draft already is a crapshoot. I feel like that's where he's going to land, and I'm just probably going to be out.
Yeah, I would much rather shoot for somebody that you could see an upside case for in that part of your rookie draft. It's just tough to see it. Yeah, I mean, he's not like a downfield explosive guy anyway on tape. But certainly this is like, oh my goodness. So he's more of like a short area zone beater, but like zero juice based off of this. What I want to know is
Mike Glennon
who
40.
this man's agent is and or friend group and close circle that was like, yeah you should still run. Because clearly you're practicing this, just his circle, right? You're practicing this for weeks and months leading up to this moment. And if you know that your time is somewhere around here or could be around here, like just don't run. Do not run.
Yeah. Either is he slightly hurt?
That's also
and we'll hear about
potential.
That later on in his career, or did he not practice running a 40 ever? He's just like, I'm fast, I can do it. And you're like, no, there is a skill to running a 40 of getting up off the blocks. There's technique to it, and yeah, you should not spend your life training to run a 40 like that unless you're running track. But this is your professional job interview, and you got to be ready to not run almost a 4.9.
His friends are just enablers. They're just sitting there just saying, yeah. You're doing great, buddy. Like you're running, you're going to run so well. Everything about this is good. It is funny because
was there like 50-mile-an-hour winds?
I think it was
we're not sure.
It was in their indoor facility. Based off the video.
Oh, even worse.
Was there 50-mile-an-hour air conditioning blowing around there?
It's really hot in Miami, man.
So it's funny because we talked about how overvalued the 40 is, and then obviously this is really, really bad. But I think what I'm trying to bring home...
It changes draft capital.
That's it.
That's the thing.
That like, to us, we can ignore it if we're like, I love the production profile. He's slower. It's fine. But if the NFL takes notice and he drops to, round 4, round 5, then we can make sure. Well, we're not trying to double count it, but we do have to take it into account. All right. One more category here. And I almost didn't want to include this because I want to put my head in the sand of a couple players of just saying, I like them. I hope the NFL does. But there is this creeping feeling. We'll call it the Jesse Spano excited yet scared category of, you love this, but the NFL might not like him as much as you do. And Trey Harris was a wide receiver that we scouted him. The production profile's there. Jason has boosted him so much in the rankings the entire time that I'm like, Jason, I don't know if this is good. Right now he's 56 on consensus big boards, which is fine. That's a round 2 pick. And I just worry that all of the numbers that I look at, the yards per route run, that he has the highest of any guy, like in any data set, he breaks all the numbers. It might not matter to the NFL. They might look at a player who's a little bit older, is 23 years old, a later breakout age, and just say,
is this another Franklin?
That's what I'm saying. Like, is this a player that ends up in round 4? So he goes routinely. I've done a couple of Foot Clan mocks because they know that we like him. I've seen people be like, oh, I'm taking this guy at the 110. And I'm like, I don't know if we get to the end of April, if this guy should go at the 110. Do you guys have that same feeling?
I'm scared. I'm very scared. Yeah. I mean, have you guys heard like literally anything about Trey Harris since the end of the season? Like good or bad? He's just been kind of non-existent, which usually is not a good sign. I saw a little bit at the combine. Okay. Yeah. Usually that's not a good sign, right? When the fantasy community loves a dude and then there's no buzz for 3 months, generally that is bad.
You have his quarterback. His quarterback is getting
the best of all time.
Yeah, like look, Jackson
Kyle's
Dart,
my guy.
Where is Dart going to go? We still don't know, but that's a conversation that's happening. So people are watching tape on Dart, and usually you would hope there'd be some byproduct of that Harris, he's pretty nice. Like you actually get in front of eyeballs more because of your quarterback. So that is concerning as well.
Yeah, I like those of us that look at spreadsheets. You look at Trey Harris's 8 games and go like, this is off the this is video game numbers. And the tape, I think, matched a lot of it of like, this dude's just different. He's his size. He's a former quarterback. I think we brought it up. He was Malik Neighbors' high school quarterback. So I like him a lot. I want him to work. Jason right now has him as his wide receiver 3. I don't think that'll stay there. But, this is him before.
I mean, there's tape evaluation.
Yeah. So I hope that he's good. I hope that he's a round 2 player. I'm just worried it's like round 4, and this is Troy Franklin all over again.
Does feel like that. If Harris is this year's Troy Franklin, it kind of feels to me like Harold Fannin might be like Sky Moore. not the same.
Say that.
Not the same position. Obviously,
can't even find a positional comp.
I couldn't because it's tight end.
So lazy.
But like small school guy that all of the numbers are green and Kyle's nerdy spreadsheets and he looks really good.
He's not just green, man. He is the greenest of all green.
I know. And I like him.
He's from Bowling Green.
Exactly.
Nice.
There you go, Mike. I like him. Early breakout age. He's young. The peripheral numbers are strong. But at the same time, it does kind of feel like the NFL is like, he's fine. And the athletic testing was not great. 7.57 out of 10 on RAS. We do look for that as one of kind of our markers for potential difference makers at the position, but he's good after the catch. His yards per route run were great. He dominated at Bowling Green. He dominated against legit competition in Penn State and I think it was Mississippi State this year.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. Thank you, Kyle.
Of course, the first legit comp.
Well, those are the two. Those are like the two big schools he played, and he crushed them.
He killed Penn.
He crushed them. So in my head, I'm like, I think he's good. I think it's going to work. But also at the same time, like, does the NFL actually like him is the question I have.
I mean, if I told you that this is the highest dominator rating we have among tight ends, you would just be peeing your pants. This is the dude.
I just did.
And there you go. The tight end episode, the way I described him is that this dude is a boxer after the catch. He's just setting people up. And Jason saw the same thing. We loved him, but I think this is one of those where the fantasy community is really excited because, everybody loves their yards per route run, but what happens when you get smacked in the face with a 4th round draft capital? What are you going to do about that?
My question on him, like early in his career, is how many routes is this guy going to run? That's the concern, is like how he fits in NFL offense because he's a little undersized, and we've seen some issues with that in the pros. But if he gets a spot where he could get legit snaps and routes, I'm in for sure. So we'll see.
He's going to be Isaiah Likely, isn't he? Where it's like, this is so fun. We all love him. And then he never is the dude.
I mean, Likely feels like a great second contract guy.
Yes. But, I mean, I wanted more.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Mike, tell us your sad story.
So it's been some time since on this pod that I have just professed my love for Cam Scattaboo. and I think that he is incredible. And the rankings and things that I'm seeing from my industry friends, I just don't understand. Like this is a full do not compute of what I am watching. Look, everyone should love Camp Scatterboo. The film nerds, the number nerds, everyone should love him. And then, but out there you go like, yeah, RB7. Like, what am I missing here? And then recently, if you want to add some fuel to my fire, I don't know if you guys saw this, but legendary running back Maurice Jones-Drew, who now works for the NFL Network, he put out his RB rankings. Have you guys seen this?
No.
So he has 4 players ranked in his day 1 starters.
That's a lot.
4 running backs. And then after that, it's system backs. His rankings of running backs: Ashton Genty, Travion Henderson, Cam Scatterboo, and then Quinshawn Judkins. You know, it was, I mean, which
I've never
and raises
seen
some eyebrows of like, where's O'Marion Hampton? 7. RB7 for MJD.
It sounds like your rankings, Mike. I've never seen you two in the same room.
It is. I mean, honestly, I'm allowing the bias of the draft capital of Hampton to be at 3 ahead of Scatterboo, but it's like I like the player Scatterboo more than I like what I've seen for Hampton. Yes, Hampton's far more impressive physical specimen and athlete, but I can't deny what Scatterboo was able to do on the field. Just an absolute monster in all facets of the game. Like if he gets to the right spot with the capital, he can be a 3-down workhorse. Now he's not going to hit 80, 50-yard rushing touchdowns on it with any sort of regularity, because that's not what his game is. But Kyle, we just said, I'd rather have a guy who can consistently give me 5+ yards, and that is exactly who Cam Scatterboo is. And so his rankings are all over the place. I honestly have no clue where his draft capital is going to land. And I think he could be a round 2 guy. I think he could fall into round 5. Like nothing's off the table for him based off of all what I'm seeing. Like there's no consensus completely one direction or the other. It's even fantasy players, the fantasy guys are absolutely burying him. I'm the Atlas. Like I have the world on my back of just, I'm like, no, I will not let people disparage what I saw numbers wise and film wise for Scatterboo. So this one is a full TBD. I am ready and willing to let it all go should he fall into day 3. But if we get day 1 if we get day 2 for him, my chips will you won't even be able to see how fast they fly into the middle of the table.
I love it, Mike. Yeah, I'm with you though on like I don't know. Like you said, he could go 50th overall. I wouldn't be shocked. He could go like in the 4th or 5th round, and I also would be like, okay, I get it, I guess. So I don't know where he'll go.
Good friend of the show, buddy of mine, JJ Zacharyson. He has kind of flipped. If you're not up to date with what he's doing with his running back model, he is almost entirely relying on receiving scores now. Of like he's saying, from his perspective, not looking at rushing as heavy because rushing is factored into the NFL draft. Like they count it for me. So I want to find a guy who can separate himself. And his reception percentage. So his percentage of receptions from ASU that made a national championship run, like they were right there, 21%. Like that is outrageous. The number that we want to see a prospect hit because they then comp with pros who are succeeding in the NFL. We want to see 11% of the receptions, and a lot of guys can't.
That's like a CMC number, is what
right.
That is.
Like this year, the receiving profiles for the running backs is very strong, but not Cam strong. That 21% is insane. A 43% dominator rating, which means 43% of the yards and the touchdowns of the offense. That's what he did. I mean, that's what Genti did. So it's crazy to me that people are so before the NFL draft just already throwing him into the scraps of whatever. But not MJD. Me and MJD, bro.
It'll be interesting to see his team fit because beyond just him as a player and for fantasy, I feel like he's one of those guys that, like, if he's on your team, you embrace him as, like, this is our guy. He's not, ordinary. He's got this grit. He's got this, he just looks different. What's our comp again? He's got a lot of fun comps out there. Gimli is one that I saw, but there's a lot more fun.
Oh, yes.
General Trag. That's it.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I also, last thing before we wrap up, Mike brought up a really good point. For any prospect that you like, give a range of outcomes of where you think they could land on draft day. So Mike mentioned, like, Scadaboo could go round 2. He could go round 5. We mentioned that with Trey Harris. Like, I could see Trey Harris. Some people are mocking him in the first. I don't think he'll be there, but if he did, that would confirm all the stuff we liked about him. I could see him drop to the 4th. So kind of give a range of outcomes of certain guys, and then you're not just pigeonholed of, well, this is kind of where he goes in the rookie drafts and the mocks that I did in March when we know things change in April. So,
and then when you're looking at your range of outcomes of if it hits at the high end, then like that's when you know that that's a player that you're gonna go target. So like when the NFL opinions and your opinions merge, go for it. But you're not going to hit on every single one of those picks, but that when those things meet up, that's when I really like to go for it.
We've got some great shows coming up. Cooking towards NFL draft time next week is a rookie draft tips and tricks episode. And we have a special guest. I mean, some people would call him the godfather of rookie drafts. I mean, no one knows what to do with rookie picks better than this guy. So I'll just tease that there.
Oh, he knows what to do with them.
And then in a couple of weeks, we'll be doing another round of mock draft. I'll actually be in Arizona getting to mock there in the studio for this podcast. And next week, Mike, you're doing prospect previews on the main show. So everything we've been talking about on here, he's going to talk with Jason and Andy. So lots of good stuff coming up. Make sure you check out the Dynasty Pass, part of the Ultimate Draft Kit Plus at udkplus.com.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.